Friends, before we dive in, I want to ask you something. From where are you listening to this tale tonight? Are you sitting in the calm of your own room, headphones on, heart quiet? Or maybe you were in a noisy city street, letting this story be your escape. Or perhaps you are somewhere far, in a lonely little corner of the world, where the air smells like rain on dust, where silence feels like an old friend. Wherever you are, share it in the comments so our stories may travel farther than the wind rolling across the prairie. Her hands trembled, though she tried to hold them still, because in the space of a single heartbeat, she had been made a fool in front of the whole town. The man she once thought might stand beside her forever had turned his back, his laughter cutting sharper than any hunting knife. The loaf of bread she had baked with such care lay crushed in the dust where he had tossed it, and all the settlers, all the neighbors, all the watchful eyes followed her like hawks circling carrion. She did not cry, not here, not before them. Her jaw hardened. Her steps remained steady, but every footstep echoed the words that had been thrown at her like stones. No man could ever love you. She carried those words deep into every hidden corner of her chest. She was 25, shoulders strong from work, hands sure from years of labor. But what use was strength if hearts refused to see you? Her little brothers, the ones she had raised after her father's death, clung to her skirts, their wide eyes begging questions she could not answer. Her mother lay frail, coughing softly in the cabin by the river, whispering blessings over her at night. "Do not let shame take root, my daughter," her mother would say. But shame grows fast in dry soil, and in this town of narrow stairs, busy whispers, and quiet judgments, it bloomed like wildfire. The shallow ranch hand, the one who had thrown her aside, was not the first to wound her. Others had looked through her, past her, as though she were made of smoke and stone. Men wanted gentle women, soft as lambs, voices always quiet, not an Apache. Daughter with fire in her blood and grief carved into her bones. She had buried too much. She had seen too much, and perhaps they were right. Perhaps no man could love her. She told herself those words again and again, as though saying them enough times would protect her from hoping. But each time she whispered them into the dark, they cut deeper, like a blade twisted again in the same wound. It was during those days after the humiliation, when whispers still followed her, to the well, to the store, to the path along the river, that she noticed him. The cowboy. He was always near, though never close enough to trouble her. He was not like the others who stared with scorn or sly hunger. His gaze carried no pity, no judgment, only a kind of quiet steadiness, like he was measuring the world and finding it too heavy to carry. He looked older than his 30 years. The lines at his brow spoke of long nights under lonely sky. His shirt was sun-faded at the One evening, standing near the edge of town with her friend beside her, she spoke the words aloud again. They tasted like ashes. Her voice cracked. "No man could love me." And she did not know, could not see, that there was a figure lingering in the twilight, half hidden near the livery. The cowboy heard the word. They struck him like a blade to the chest. His hand curled into a fist at his side, holding back the truth that burned in him. He could not speak it yet, but as she turned away, her shoulders bowed under sorrow she never deserved. His lips parted, and into the dusk he whispered words no one heard but the wind. "I have loved you all my life." Dawn spilled soft gold across the prairie the day she found him at her door. He stood there awkward as a boy, boots coated in dust, a sack of flour in his arms. She blinked against the light, unsure whether to turn him away or let him step inside. His voice came quiet, almost careful. "For the children," he said, nothing more. She took the sack with weary hands. The warmth of morning pressed heavier against her chest, thick with unspoken things. Days stretched into weeks, and he came back, not with flowers, not with words or promises, but with his hands and his presence. A fence mended where the posts had sagged, a roof patched before the rain could pour through, the corral gate fixed so the calves no longer slipped free. She watched him from the shadow of the doorway, waiting for the moment he would name his price. But the moment never came. He would just tip his hat and leave, boots crunching softly, leaving her with more questions than answers. Her little brothers trusted him first. They followed him as he worked, giggling, asking questions. He taught them to tie knots, to whistle sharp enough to call a horse, to sit tall in the saddle though their legs barely reached the stirrups. Their laughter filled the yard again, and she felt something in her chest begin to thaw. Trust, though, came slower for her. One stormy night, the roof split open again. Wind drove the rain hard across her mother's bed. She was struggling with a soaked blanket when the door burst open, and there he stood, lantern in one hand, hammer in the other. Her fear turned sharp, her voice like a whip. "Why do you keep doing this?" The lantern glow caught the tired lines of his face, and he answered, voice steady as stone. Because no one ever did it for me. The words hit her harder than any storm. They were not spoken to win her, not meant to soften her heart. They were truth, raw and unpolished, and she stood still as he climbed onto the roof and finished the work. When the storm passed, the cabin stood dry, and her heart was no longer the same. But the town had eyes, and the shallow suitor, the one who had once shamed her, returned to sneer again. It happened in the middle of the street, dust swirling around boots and hooves. Townsfolk gathering, hungry for drama. His voice cut the air. See how low she has fallen, he spat. No man could love her, except a lonely fool desperate enough to pity her. The words reopened every wound she thought had healed. Her throat closed. Her hands shook. The weight of every stare pressed her down. She nearly believed the cruelty again. Her head lowered, though she had done no wrong. The world tilted dark. And then his voice. Calm, steady, unyielding. You were wrong. The crowd stilled. He stepped forward, shoulders squared, boots raising dust like smoke. His eyes locked on hers, even as the cruel man glared beside him. I have loved her all my life, he said, each word like a hammer striking iron. She is braver than any of you, stronger than me, and I would ride through fire for her. The silence that followed was heavy, unbroken. The suitor faltered, pale. The townsfolk who once whispered only watched, their judgment falling away like dry chaff in wind. She felt the ground steady under her feet. Her trembling stopped. Tears brimmed, not of shame, but of relief. Years of doubt washed away by the strength of his voice. For the first time, she met his gaze without fear. The world blurred, the street, the people, the cruel man at her side, all fading. Only the cowboy remained, hand outstretched, not in demand but in offering. She stepped forward, breath trembling. Perhaps a man could love her after all. His fingers closed gently around hers, warm, steady, no rush. The cruel man turned away in defeat. The crowd melted back into their homes. But she hardly noticed. The only sound was the beating of her heart, no longer burdened, but free. And as the sun broke through the clouds above, she knew. The life she had thought denied to her was already waiting in his hands. And if you felt this story deep in your heart, friend, take a moment. Tap like. Subscribe so you miss the next tale.